My mother-in-law gave the family's only paid-off house to her younger son. We rented a moldy basement apartment for 5 years before I bought a home of our own. Then that deadbeat brother-in-law sold the house to fund a crypto scam and lost every last penny. Today, she showed up on my doorstep with a frayed rolling suitcase and said, "Lila, I'm here to move in with you and Ethan." I glanced at her son, my brother-in-law Miles, trailing right behind her, and smiled coolly. "Sure, you can stay. But first, we're laying down ground rules. Hashtag Chapter 1 Ground Rules." Miles scoffed, slamming his car keys down on the entryway table hard enough to rattle the decor. "What are you even talking about? Mom moving in with her oldest son is just how it works. You don't get to make demands." I didn't even look at him. My eyes stayed on Carol, my mother-in-law. She hovered on the doormat, not even daring to step inside, clutching the handle of that worn-out suitcase like it was a lifeline. "What do you think?" "Mom?" I asked. She forced a dry laugh, her eyes darting past me toward Ethan, who was finally coming down the hall to see what the commotion was. "Lila, she's been standing out there forever," Ethan said, tugging gently at my sleeve. "Just let her in first. We can talk later." I brushed his hand off and didn't move an inch from the doorway. "She can come in after we agree on the rules. Otherwise, we'll just be fighting about it later." Miles snapped. "Lila, don't push your luck. My brother hasn't said a word. You think you run this house. I put every dollar of the down payment on this house. I make every single mortgage payment. The deed is in my name only." I held his gaze, voice steady. "You tell me who runs this house." Miles went red in the face, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "Enough." I turned back to Carol. "Mom, I have no problem with you moving in here for retirement, but I have 3 non-negotiable conditions." Her knuckles whitened around the suitcase handle. She nodded. "Go on." "First, your pension and Social Security are yours to keep. But not 1 cent of it goes to Miles anymore. Not a dime." Miles's voice shot up an octave. "You don't get to control my mom's money. I control who eats my food and lives in my house." I stared him down. "You sold her paid-off house, blew every dollar on garbage investments, and now you want to keep leeching off her? Give me a break." He ground his teeth and said nothing. "Second," I continued, "Miles, you will send $300 a month in support money straight to your mom's bank account. Every month. No exceptions. 300. He laughed bitterly. "I can barely afford rent as it is. Where am I supposed to get that kind of money? That Rolex Submariner on your wrist, you bought it last month. Didn't you?" I glanced at his left hand. "Too broke to help your mom, but not too broke for a luxury watch? I don't care where you get the money. $300. Not a penny less." He flinched and tucked his hand behind his back, eyes darting away. "Third, any future medical bills for Mom will be split evenly between you 2 brothers." I looked at all 3 of them. "That's it." "Agree. And you can come in." "Don't agree?" "Miles, you take your mom right back to whatever dive you dragged her from." The hallway went dead quiet. Ethan stood beside me, his brow furrowed so tight it looked painful. "Lila, the second one, come on. Miles is really struggling right now, struggling." I turned to him, sharp. 5 years ago, when we got married, Mom gave the only family home to him. We lived in that basement apartment where the walls leaked when it rained and the heater died every winter. Were we struggling then? Did anyone care? Ethan went quiet and stared at his shoes. When Miles realized his brother wasn't going to defend him, he lost his temper. "Whatever. Stupid house. Big deal. You think I care?" He ripped the suitcase out of Carol's hand and threw it on the floor. "Come on. Mom, we're leaving. Let them have their precious little house. See how long they last without you." Carol flinched but didn't move. "Let's go," he yelled, yanking at her arm. She wrenched her arm away, eyes glistening. "I'm not leaving." "What?" Miles stared at her like he'd never seen her before. "I'm not leaving." Her voice shook, but it was firm. "I live with you in that tiny rental, and people show up banging on the door at all hours looking for money. I haven't slept through a single night in 6 months." She turned to me. "Lila, I agree. All three conditions. I agree. Miles looked back and forth between the two of us. Like we'd ganged up on him. Fine. Real nice. You two team up against me? Fine. Don't come crying to me when you need something. He spun on his heel and stormed out. The front door slammed so hard the walls shook. I looked at Carol and stepped aside. Come in. Slippers are on the second shelf of the shoe cabinet. Ethan hurried to grab her suitcase and bring it inside. That night, after I got out of the shower, I found Ethan sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall. Don't you think you went a little too far today? He said, looking up at me. Too far how? I sat down at my vanity and picked up my hairbrush. He's my little brother. You embarrassed him right in front of Mom like that, Ethan. I cut him off. If you want to coddle your brother, be my guest. But you don't get to do it with my money or my house. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. You know exactly how hard those 5 years were for us. I met his eyes in the mirror. Letting Mom move in is already my bottom line. Don't push it. He sighed and walked over to wrap his arms around me from behind. I know you've had it rough. From now on, I'll listen to you. I promise. I said nothing, just stared at my own reflection. I knew this was only the beginning. ## chapter 2. I woke up to clanging in the kitchen before the sun was even up. My phone said 5:30 a.m. I pulled on a robe and walked out of the bedroom. Carol was standing at the stove with a cleaver in her hand, hacking at a half-thawed rack of ribs on the cutting board. Mom, what are you doing up this early? She jumped, turning around like she'd been caught doing something wrong. I was making you two breakfast. I usually grab a bagel or something on my way to work. You don't have to do all this. I stepped closer and glanced at the cutting board. Those ribs I bought yesterday? I was gonna make soup for dinner tonight. Oh, I saw M in the fridge and thought I'd make rib noodle soup for Ethan. It's his favorite. Always has been. She set the knife down and wiped her hands on her apron. I looked at her for a long second. Mom, we don't eat heavy, greasy food for breakfast in this house. I put the ribs back in a storage bag and stuck them in the fridge. You don't need to worry about breakfast. Sleep in. That's an order. She stood there awkwardly, like she didn't know what to do with herself. Then I can pack you lunches? Eating out all the time isn't healthy. No need. My office has a cafeteria. I closed the fridge and turned to face her. Mom, if you need anything while you're here, just ask me. But please don't go rearranging or using things around the house without asking first. We have our routine. Her face fell. I was just trying to help, I know. I softened my tone just a little. But we have our way of doing things. She didn't say anything else. She just untied her apron and went back to her room. During my lunch break at work, I pulled up the Nest Cam feed on my phone. I'd installed it a while back for package theft. Pointed right at the living room and couch. On the screen, Carol was sitting on the sofa, talking on the phone loud enough for the mic to pick up every word. Miles? Honey, you eaten yet? Don't live on instant noodles. It's bad for you. I'm fine here. Your brother and Lila are treating me okay. She paused and lowered her voice, like she was afraid someone would hear. Lila brought home 2 big boxes of cherries yesterday, and a whole box of premium abalone. It's all in the pantry. Next weekend, when your brother's at work, you come over and take some. Lila's too sharp for me to sneak it out. You come get it yourself. And you say I gave it to you. Okay. I stared at the screen and laughed coldly. Some things never change. When I got home that night, I went straight to the pantry. One of the cherry boxes was already opened, and 2 big plastic bags were stuffed full of fruit, tied shut tight. The box of abalone was gone entirely. I carried the bags out to the living room and dropped them on the coffee table with a thud. Carol jumped, like she'd been sitting there waiting to get caught. Mom, I said, pointing at the bags. Care to explain? Her eyes darted everywhere but at me. I saw they were gonna go bad. So I was gonna wash 'em and eat 'em. You washed cherries by stuffing them in tied-up plastic bags. My voice was ice. Where's the abalone? The abalone? I put it somewhere safe so it wouldn't get damp. Where? Go get it. Show me. She sat frozen. picking at her pants like a kid caught stealing cookies. Just then, Ethan walked in the front door. "What's going on in here?" He looked at me, then at the cherries on the table. "Ask your mom," I said, sitting down on the couch. As soon as she saw Ethan, Carol burst into tears. "Ethan, baby, I just wanted to send a little something to Miles. He's out there all alone. He can't even feed himself properly." Ethan sighed and patted her shoulder. "Mom, if you wanted to give Miles something, you could have just talked to me about it. Sneaking around like this is just gonna make Lila mad." "Talk to you about it?" I cut in. "And you would have just handed over a $300 box of abalone to your deadbeat brother? Is that what you're saying?" Ethan, shut up. "Lila, she's just worried about him. Don't make such a big deal out of it." "A big deal." I pulled out my phone, pulled up the camera footage, and hit play. Carol's voice filled the room. "Clear as day, asterisk, next weekend. When your brother's at work, you come over and take some, asterisk." Ethan's face went pale. Carol's crying cut off mid-sob. "Mom," I said, locking my phone. "I told you yesterday, don't touch things in this house without asking. You live here. I'll take care of you. But not one single thing that's mine leaves this house without my permission. Not a cherry. Not a pen. Nothing." She stared at her lap and didn't dare say a word. Ethan stood there, red-faced and embarrassed. "Lila, I'm sorry. It won't happen again." "It better not." I stood up and picked up the bags of cherries, heading for the kitchen. "Ethan, go find the abalone. If you can't find it, neither of you is eating dinner tonight." I heard him muttering to her in the living room. "Mom, what were you thinking?" I turned on the faucet and started rinsing the cherries. The sound of the water drowned them out. I stared at the bright red fruit in the sink and felt nothing. Cheap little tricks. She really thought she could get one over on me? ## chapter 3 by the end of the month. It was time for Miles to pay up. I checked Carol's bank account online. No deposit. At dinner, I set my chopsticks down. "Mom, did Miles send this month's support money yet?" Her hand froze midair with a piece of broccoli. Not yet. He said he's tight on cash right now. He'll send it in a couple days." "A couple days, how many?" I asked. Just a few days." She wouldn't meet my eye. I didn't say anything. I just pulled out my phone and called Miles directly. It rang a long time before he picked up. The background was loud, thumping music. People laughing. Sounded like a bar or a club. "Yeah, Lila? What do you want?" He sounded sloshed and annoyed. "This month's $300 for your mom. When are you sending it?" There was a burst of laughter in the background. "Damn, you're really on my case about pocket change? I haven't gotten paid yet." "Chill out. You haven't gotten paid, but you've got money to go clubbing." I could hear some girl in the background cooing, "Come on, Miles. Take a shot." "My friend's treating me," he said, clearing his throat. "I don't care who's buying your drinks." My voice was cold. "Midnight tonight, $300 in your mom's account. No later." "Ugh. You're so obsessed with money," he snapped. "My brother doesn't even nag me like this. You really got nothing better to do. Your brother doesn't nag you because he's too much of a pushover." I glanced at Ethan, who was staring down at his rice like it was the most interesting thing in the world. "I'll say it one more time. Send the money. Or tomorrow I drop your mom off at your place. See how you like taking care of her." "You wouldn't dare. Try me." I hung up. Across the table, Carol had tears in her eyes. "Lila, he really doesn't have the money. Can't we just skip this month? Just this once. Skip it?" I looked at her. "Mom, he took the house you gave him, sold it for hundreds of thousands, and blew every penny. Now he can't even send you $300 a month? And you're still defending him. He's my baby boy." She covered her face and started crying. Ethan put his chopsticks down with a sigh. "Lila, come on. I'll cover it this month. It's just $300. No need to make everyone miserable over it." I stared at him, cold and sharp. "You'll cover it? With what money?" "My paycheck's in our account. Just take it out of Ethan." "Are you actually being serious right now?" I slammed my chopsticks down on the table so hard the bowls rattled. "If you pay a share." "What does that mean?" It means we pay to take care of your mom, and we keep subsidizing your deadbeat brother. That's what you want. He shrank back under my glare and went quiet. Let me make this clear. He pays. No exceptions. I stood up, walked over to the router, and ripped the Ethernet cable right out of the wall. No internet until the money hits the account. Lila. What the hell? Ethan jumped up. I have work emails to send tonight. Then go to the office and send them. I looked him dead in the eye. Internet comes back when Miles pays. He stormed out of the house, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. Carol sat at the table crying louder. I ignored her, went straight to the bedroom, and locked the door. At 11:30 p.m., someone started pounding on the front door. Lila, open up. It was Miles. Drunk, angry, and loud. I unlocked the bedroom door and walked out. He was standing in the middle of the living room, reeking of beer. Carol was hanging onto his arm, begging him to calm down. Miles, stop. Just go home. Hell no, I won't. He shoved her away hard enough that she stumbled. Lila, who do you think you are? Threatening me? You think you can push me around? He got right up in my face, finger pointed at my nose, bloodshot eyes blazing. I ain't paying you jack shit. And if you dare drop mom off at my place, I'll show up at your office and make a huge scene. See how your boss likes that. I looked at him and smiled. You want to go to my office and make a scene? I turned around, went back to the bedroom, grabbed my tablet, and tossed it on the coffee table. Take a look at that. He blinked, confused, then looked down at the screen. It was his Steam purchase history, his gacha game spending sprees, and his Twitch donation records to female streamers, all added up. He dropped well over $1.500 that month alone. WH, how did you get this? His face went white. You logged into your accounts on my old phone once. Forgot to sign out. I leaned against the wall, amused. Too broke to help your mom, but not too broke to throw money at random streamers? Real stand-up guy you are. Miles, you want to know what happens if I send these screenshots to all your friends? Or that girl you've been trying to date? What do you think they'll say? The vein in his forehead was throbbing. You're blackmailing me. I'm protecting myself. I nodded at the door. Now send the money. Then get out of my house. He ground his teeth, fumbled with his phone, and tapped at the screen for a minute. Sent. Happy now? Ecstatic. I picked up my tablet. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. He glared daggers at me, then turned and stormed out. The door slammed. Carol stood there, frozen, like she couldn't believe what she'd just seen. Mom. I turned to her. See that? That's your precious baby boy. She didn't say a word. She just covered her face and slowly sank down to the floor, sobbing. ## chapter 4 things were quiet for a few days. I almost thought they'd learned their lesson. Then, that weekend, I was in the study going through work files when the doorbell rang. Ethan answered it. A second later, I heard loud laughter and footsteps tramping through the living room. I frowned, pushed open the study door, and walked out. Miles was sprawled on the couch like he owned the place, and some girl in a tight dress was perched next to him, taking selfies of the living room. Wow, this place is so nice. Baby, she purred, picking up a decorative statue from the coffee table and turning it over. Your brother's loaded. Huh? Carol came out of the kitchen carrying a plate of fruit, her face lighting up when she saw Miles. Oh, you're here. Have some fruit. Honey. I walked over and stood in front of the couch, staring down at them. What are you doing here? Miles leaned back and propped his feet up on the coffee table. Relax. Lila. I brought Lily by to meet the family. He nodded at the girl next to him. Lily rolled her eyes at me and went back to playing with the statue. Nice meeting you. Now leave. I didn't bother being polite. Miles's face darkened. Whoa, what's your problem? I'm staying here for a few days. My lease is up. My landlord raised the rent. And I'm looking for a new place around here. Crash on your couch for a week. No big deal. He jerked his chin toward the guest room down the hall. That room's just sitting there empty. Me and Lily'll take it. No, my answer was flat and final. That room is my office and storage. There's no space for you. Lily's mouth dropped open. Babe, you said your brother's house was your house? She won't even let us stay in the spare room? That's so cheap. She tugged on Miles's arm, putting on a pout. Miles patted her hand and glowered at me. Lila, cut the crap. My brother hasn't said anything. You don't get a vote. He looked over at Ethan. Come on. Bro, back me up here. Just a few days. I'll be out before you know it. Ethan looked pained. Lila, maybe it's just a few days. The room is empty. I turned to Ethan slowly. My gaze so cold, I'm surprised he didn't flinch. Say that again. He flinched anyway. His voice dropped to a mumble. He's my brother. What am I supposed to do? Fine. Great. I nodded once, then turned and walked back into the study. I heard Lily snicker. Told you. You just gotta stand your ground. Baby. A second later, I walked back out. Dropped a stack of papers on the coffee table with a heavy thud. Read it. All of it. Miles gave me a weird look. Then picked up the top page. It was a copy of the property deed. And our prenuptial agreement. I bought this house outright. Before we got married. Ethan paid for some of the renovations. And I paid him back every cent with interest. I looked down at all three of them. This house is 100% mine. It has nothing to do with the Zhou family. Nothing. Ethan's head snapped up. He stared at me, shocked. All this time, he'd thought we were paying a mortgage together. Every month I had him transfer me money for the house payment. What he didn't know is I'd just been putting it all in a separate savings account. Untouched. You lied to me? His voice was shaking. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. I held his gaze. Better safe than sorry. And right now, I'm feeling pretty justified. I turned back to Miles and Lily. Now, take your girlfriend. Get out of my house. Miles's hands were shaking. The papers crumpled in his grip. You set us up. You planned this. You started it by trying to move into my house uninvited. I pulled out my phone and pretended to dial 911. You have 60 seconds. If you're still here when I finish calling the police, you're getting arrested for trespassing. Lily went pale. She tugged on Miles's sleeve. Miles, let's just go. This chick is crazy, shut up. He shook her off, staring daggers at me. Carol was panicking, hovering around the couch. Lila, what is this? We're family. You don't have to be so cruel. Family? I laughed coldly. You were all perfectly happy to scheme and take what's mine. Where was this family talk then? I glanced at the clock on the wall. 30 seconds. Miles clenched his jaw so hard I thought his teeth would crack. Then he jumped up off the couch. Fine. You win this round. But you're gonna regret this. Lila. He grabbed Lily's wrist and stormed out. The door slammed so hard the pictures on the wall shook. Dead silence fell over the living room. ## Chapter 5. Ethan sat on the couch with his head in his hands, looking like he'd just lost a fight. Carol stood there crying, quiet tears rolling down her face. Ethan, look what you married. That woman is a monster. Mom. Stop it. Ethan's voice was sharp. Sudden. Carol flinched and went quiet. I picked up the prenuptial papers and took them back to the study. When I came out, Ethan was standing up. Lila, we need to talk. His voice was rough. I walked over to the dining table and sat down. Talk. Were you planning this the whole time? Just waiting for a chance to throw it in my face. He looked at me, eyes shiny with hurt. I wasn't planning anything. I was protecting myself from your family. I kept my voice calm. Your mom gave the house to your brother and left us with nothing. When we got engaged, she made you drain our wedding fund to buy Miles a new car. You think I didn't notice? I leaned forward slightly. Ethan, if I hadn't protected myself, we would be the ones living in a basement right now. Or worse. He closed his eyes. Pained. I know I messed up. I know I let them walk all over us. But you didn't have to lie to me. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you because you have no backbone when it comes to them. I pulled a piece of paper out of my pocket and slid it across the table to him. Look at that. He opened his eyes and picked it up. It was a spreadsheet. Every single time he'd sent money to Miles or his mom behind my back over the last 5 years. Every birthday cash. Every car insurance payment. Every phone bill he'd covered for Miles. Added up, $45,000. You thought I didn't know? I watched the color drain from his face. That $45,000 was the price I paid for 5 years of peace. Consider it settled. From now on, not one more cent from this house goes to Miles. Not a penny. His hand was shaking so bad the paper crinkled. Finally, he understood just how much I'd put up with, and how stupid he'd been to think he could hide it. Carol was standing in the doorway, white as a sheet. Lila, you kept track of every single dollar? I don't owe any of you anything. I turned to her. Mom, you live here. I'll feed you. I'll take care of you. But you do not run this house. Miles is a bottomless pit. You can't keep filling it. Her mouth opened and closed. She had nothing to say. For the next week, the house was eerily quiet. Ethan left early and came home late, barely making eye contact with me. Carol stopped bringing up Miles entirely. She cleaned. She cooked. She kept her head down. Then, Friday night, I was on the couch reading when Ethan's phone rang. He answered it, and his face went white instantly. What? Which precinct? He jumped up and grabbed his jacket. What's wrong? I asked. It's Miles. He got in a fight. Got arrested for assault. His voice was trembling. Carol came running out of her room. As soon as she heard the words, her eyes rolled back and she fainted. Chaos erupted. I calmly picked up my phone and called 911 for an ambulance. 30 minutes later, we were in the ER waiting room. Carol was fine, just stress and shock. They said she was on N4 in a room down the hall. Ethan was pacing back and forth, bouncing off the walls. The precinct said he cracked the guy's skull. The other guy's lawyer is demanding $15,000 to settle and drop charges. If we don't pay, he's pressing felony charges. He looked at me, begging. Lila, we can't let him go to prison. We just can't. How do you plan on paying for it? I asked. We'll scrape it together. Take it out of savings. What savings? I raised an eyebrow. You blew $45,000 on your brother already. You've got less than $1,200 in your checking account. What are you going to pay with? Good intentions. He froze. Then, your money, not 1 cent of my money, is going to bail him out. My voice was final. He made his bed. He can lie in it. $15,000? He can figure it out himself. He can't figure it out. Ethan sounded desperate. Then he goes to jail. I looked him dead in the eye. Ethan, you can bail him out once, but you can't do it forever. Today he beats someone up. Tomorrow he could kill someone. You're not helping him. You're enabling him. He slid down the wall and sat on the floor. Defeated. He knew I was right. Down the hall, Carol woke up. She'd heard every word. She lay there in the hospital bed, silent tears rolling down her temples. For the first time, she had to face it. Her spoiled baby boy was broken. And she'd broken him. ## Chapter 6. Carol stayed in the hospital for 3 days. In those 3 days, Miles didn't call once. Word got around that the other guy's family was raising hell at the precinct. That girlfriend Lily of his vanished the second things got messy. Hospital bills kept piling up. Ethan maxed out his credit card. I ended up paying the deposit. When I walked into her room with the stack of bills, Carol looked at me with complicated eyes. Lila, I'll pay you back. Every cent. Her voice was weak. Forget it. I said medical bills get split between the boys. I'll get Miles's half from him one way or another. Our half is on us. I set the bills down on the nightstand. Just focus on getting better. The old lady in the next bed over was friendly. She'd watched me run back and forth for 3 days. Honey, you got one good daughter-in-law right there, she said to Carol. I've seen her running errands, talking to doctors, handling everything. Where's your son at? Carol forced a tight smile. My oldest boy works hard. He's busy. Older son's busy. Huh? What about the younger one? The old lady asked casually. Carol's smile froze. She turned her head and stared out the window, saying nothing. I poured her a cup of water and handed it to her. "Drink up." She took the cup, her hand shaking a little. "Lila," she said suddenly, "is Miles really gonna be okay? There's nothing we can do. The other side won't budge on the money. Miles can't pay, so the case goes to court." I sat down in the chair next to the bed. "Mom, this is the path he chose." She closed her eyes. Tears leaked out the corners. The day she got discharged, Ethan took half a day off to pick us up. After we got home, Carol was different. Quiet. She didn't sneak phone calls to Miles. She didn't try to sneak food or money to him. She got up early every morning, cleaned the whole house spotless, and even started learning how to cook the light, mild foods I liked. I could see it. She was trying to earn her keep. When people get desperate, they grab onto whatever lifeline they have left. And right now, I was her only lifeline. 2 weeks later, we got the verdict on Miles's case. The injuries weren't as bad as initially claimed, and Miles took a plea deal. 90 days in county jail, and $4,500 in restitution. He had to pawn that Rolex to pay for it. Carol was in the kitchen chopping vegetables when I told her. Her knife stilled for 1 second. Then she kept chopping. She didn't say a word. That weekend, I was watching TV on the couch when the doorbell rang. Ethan answered it. When I heard the voice, I looked up in surprise. It was Chloe, Miles's ex-wife. She was holding the hand of a little 4-year-old boy, Owen. She looked tired, worn thin. "Hey, Lila." She gave me a small, tired nod. I was surprised. Chloe had left Miles 2 years ago. After the gambling and the hitting got too bad, she'd moved back in with her parents and hadn't spoken to any of the Zhou family since. "What are you doing here?" I stood up. Her eyes welled up. "Lila, I hate to ask, but Owen's sick. He needs surgery. And I can't cover the deductible. I tried everything." She looked past me at Carol, who'd just walked out of the kitchen. "Mom, I can't reach Miles." I didn't know where else to go. Carol stared at her grandson. The dish towel slipped out of her hand and fell on the floor. "Owen's sick? What's wrong with him?" "Congenital heart defect. The doctors say he can't wait any longer." Chloe wiped at her eyes. "I'm still $7,500 short. Mom, can you help me? Please?" Carol was shaking all over. She looked at Ethan. Desperate. Ethan looked pained. "Chloe, we don't really have the money right now, I know." Chloe laughed bitterly. "I wouldn't be here if I had any other choice." Suddenly, she dropped to her knees right there in the entryway. "Lila, please, lend me the money. I'll write you an IOU. I'll work 2 jobs. I'll pay you back every cent. I promise. Just please help my boy." My chest tightened. I knew what it felt like to be that desperate. I stepped forward and helped her stand up. "I'll lend you the money." Ethan and Carol both froze. "Lila," Ethan started. I shot him a look. He shut up. "But I have one condition." I looked Chloe in the eye. "This money is from me. To you. It has nothing to do with Miles. You sign a proper loan agreement. With standard interest. You pay me back on your own time. No rush. But no skipping payments either." Chloe nodded over and over, crying so hard she could barely breathe. "Thank you. Thank you so much, Lila." I went into the study and transferred the money right away. Chloe left a little while later, clutching the confirmation email like it was gold. Carol stood in the living room, staring at the door. Then she slapped herself hard across the face. "What have I done?" she wailed. "I gave that boy everything. He drove his wife away. He drove his son away. And now that boy's sick and he's nowhere to be found. What have I done?" Ethan stood there, eyes red, unable to say a word. I looked at Carol, cold and steady. "Now you see what all that favoritism got you." "Mom?" She covered her face and screamed. Broken and raw. Hashtag chapter 7 after that day. Carol was a completely different person. She never said Miles's name out loud. It was like he was dead to her. She poured all her energy into the house. She cooked new recipes every night. She kept everything spotless. She even tried to do my laundry, including my underwear, until I told her firmly to stop. Mom, just do what you're comfortable with. You don't have to prove anything. My voice softened a little when I saw how hunched and anxious she looked. She rubbed her hands together. Nervous. Lila, I was awful to you before. I know that. I know who's actually good to me now. I didn't say anything. I just turned and went back to the bedroom. 3 months later, Miles got out of jail. The first thing he did was show up at our door. I was working from home that day. The doorbell rang. Carol answered it. When she opened the door, there he was. Thin, scraggly hair, clothes all rumpled. Looked like a homeless guy. Mom, he croaked. Carol froze. Her hand white-knuckled on the doorknob. What do you want? Her voice was ice. He pushed his way inside a little. When he saw me, he flinched. Mom, I got nowhere to go. My landlord kicked me out. Just let me crash here for a few days. Okay. He started walking further into the house. Stop right there. My voice cut through the room. He froze and turned around, glaring. Lila, this is my brother's house. My mom lives here. You can't kick me out. Can't I? I looked over at Carol. Mom, you want him to stay? Carol was trembling all over. She pointed at the front door. Get out. Miles stared at her, stunned. Mom? What are you saying? It's me. Miles. I have no son named Miles. Her voice broke, but it was loud and clear. She marched over to him and started shoving him toward the door with all her strength. You lost my house. You lost your wife. You lost your son. That little boy had heart surgery and you didn't even bother to show up. And now you have the nerve to come here begging? Get out. Get out of my house. Miles stumbled backward, his face twisting with rage. Oh, I get it. You're all teaming up on me now. Huh? Because I don't have money anymore. He got right up in Carol's face, pointing a finger at her. You old hag. You practically begged me to take that house. Now that I'm down on my luck, you throw me away? Is that it? Smack. Carol slapped him so hard his head snapped to the side. The crack of it echoed through the whole living room. Miles stared at her, hand on his cheek, completely shocked. You hit me? I hit the monster I raised. She was screaming now, tears streaming down her face. I regret the day I gave birth to you. You ruined everything. I stood off to the side, watching it all unfold with cold eyes. Miles looked back and forth between the two of us, seething. Fine. You'll regret this. All of you. He spun around and ran out the door. It slammed shut behind him. Carol collapsed onto the floor, sobbing her heart out. I walked over and helped her up onto the couch. I handed her a tissue. Dry your eyes. He's not worth crying over. She grabbed my hand and squeezed it tight. Lila, I was so wrong. I was so wrong. I looked at her and felt nothing much. Too little. Too late. But at least she'd finally woken up. That night, when Ethan got home and heard what happened, he sat quiet for a long time. Thank you, Lila, he said suddenly. For what? For not giving up on us. On this family. He looked at me, full of guilt and gratitude. If you hadn't put your foot down, Miles would have dragged all of us down with him. I didn't say anything. Truth was, I hadn't been fighting for the family. I'd been fighting for myself. For my boundaries. The next morning, I got a call from the HOA office. Ms. Lynn? Your brother-in-law is out front with a big sign, yelling about you. You might want to come down here. I laughed coldly. Of course. The dog was cornered, so he was lashing out. I got changed, grabbed my phone, and walked downstairs slow and calm. A crowd had gathered out front of the building. Miles was holding up a big white bedsheet with red spray paint on it. * evil sister-in-law steals house. Abuses my poor mother *. He had a cheap megaphone, screaming at the top of his lungs. Everyone look. This woman locked my mom up in her house. She won't let me see my own mom. She stole all our family money. Neighbors were murmuring, pointing, taking videos. I walked right through the crowd and stood in front of him. Done yelling yet? I asked, calm as anything. Hashtag chapter 8 when Miles saw me. He lit up like he'd won. There she is. Everyone look at this woman. She stole my mom's house. She kicked me out on the street, he screamed into the megaphone. The crowd murmured louder. I ignored him. I pulled out my phone, tapped a few times, and connected to the portable Bluetooth speaker the HOA security guard had set up for me. You want to put on a show for the whole neighborhood? Fine. Let's give them the full story. I hit play on a recording. Miles's voice blared out of the speaker, loud and clear for everyone to hear. Asterisk, Lila. You're so obsessed with money. My brother doesn't even nag me like this. Asterisk, I ain't paying you jack shit. And if you dare drop mom off at my place, I'll make a scene at your office. Asterisk, then Carol's voice, sharp and angry. Asterisk, you lost my house. You lost your wife. You lost your son. That little boy had heart surgery and you didn't even bother to show up. Asterisk, the recording cut off. Dead silence from the crowd. Miles went white as a sheet. The megaphone slipped in his hand. That's fake. You edited that. You're framing me, he sputtered. I smiled coldly and pulled a stack of printed papers out of my bag. I tossed them in the air, and they fluttered down all over the sidewalk. Bank records from when he sold his mom's house. Casino receipts from his trip to Vegas. His Twitch and gotcha spending history. All of it. There's the proof, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. He sold his mother's paid-off house, gambled and wasted every cent, and now he's here lying to all of you because his brother's wife won't let him mooch off her anymore. The neighbors leaned down to pick up the papers. The murmurs turned to angry muttering. Wow, what a scumbag. His own mom? Seriously? Some people have no shame. The tide turned instantly. Miles was drowning in booze and judgment. He looked wild, like he wanted to lunge at me. 2 HOA security guards stepped forward and grabbed him before he could move. Miles, I warned you. I looked down at him, calm and unshakable. You got away with everything for so long because Mom spoiled you and Ethan let you walk all over him. But I'm not them. I pulled one more paper out of my folder. This is a no trespass order. Signed by your mother. She chooses to live with me and Ethan. She does not want to see you. Ever again. I held it right in front of his face. If you set foot on this property one more time, I call the police and you go back to jail. Understand? He stared at the paper, then deflated like a popped balloon. All the fight went out of him. He knew he'd lost. His last card was gone. I turned around and walked back inside without another glance. When I got upstairs, Carol was pacing the living room, frantic. Lila, are you okay? Did that animal hurt you? I'm fine. It's handled. I kicked off my shoes. He won't bother you again. She let out a huge, shaking breath and started crying again. Lila, thank you. If it weren't for you, that boy would have worked me to death. I'd have nothing left. She pulled a debit card out of her pocket and pressed it into my hand. This is my pension card. The pin is Ethan's birthday. You hold on to it. Groceries, bills, whatever. Take what you need. I looked down at the card and didn't hand it back. All right. I'll hold on to it for you. I'll leave $300 a month in cash for your personal spending. You'll get a statement every month so you can see where it all goes. She nodded over and over. Whatever you say. Lila, whatever you say. That night, when Ethan got home, I told him everything that happened. He sat quiet for a long time. Then he pulled out his phone, right there in front of me, and blocked Miles's number and every social media account. Lila, he said, looking me in the eye. From now on, my family is you and Mom. That's it. I smiled a little. Good. That night, I slept deeper than I had in 5 years. All that frustration, all that resentment, all those years of biting my tongue, it was finally over. I'd won. Clean and simple. Life got quiet after that. Peaceful. Carol cooked wonderful meals every day. On weekends, she'd go for walks in the park with her new friends from the senior center, giving us space. Ethan changed too. He came home right after work, helped with chores, listened to me, respected me. Every month, I sent Carol a clear breakdown of her pension spending, line by line. She'd always wave it off. I don't need to read it. Baby, I trust you. By the end of the year, Ethan got promoted to department manager. To celebrate, he booked a fancy steakhouse downtown and took me and Carol out for dinner. Mid-meal, Carol raised her wine glass. Her eyes were shiny. Ethan, Lila, I spent most of my life being stupid and selfish. The last few years? You two saved me. She tossed back the whole glass of red wine. From now on, we're a real family. The good kind. Ethan and I looked at each other, then raised our glasses too. Cheers to that. Hashtag chapter 9 after Chinese New Year. Chloe brought Owen over to visit. The surgery had been a huge success. The little boy had color in his cheeks, running around laughing. Healthy as can be. Lila, this is the first payment. Chloe handed me an envelope. It's not much, but I'll send it every month. Like clockwork. I took the envelope and ruffled Owen's hair. Don't rush. Focus on getting that boy strong and healthy first. Carol pulled Owen over to her and pressed a thick red envelope into his hands. This is from Grandma. For Lunar New Year. Chloe tried to say no, but Carol insisted. Take it. It's the least I owe you both. Chloe's eyes got red, but she didn't argue. Right before they left, Chloe hesitated, then said, Lila, Miles found me a few days ago. I raised an eyebrow. What did he want? Said he's working construction now. Wants to get back together. For Owen's sake. Chloe laughed. Sharp and bitter. I told him to go to hell. That man will never change. I nodded. You did the right thing. Cut toxic people out. And your life gets better. Simple as that. After they left, I walked back into the living room. Carol was clearing off the coffee table. Moving slow. Mom. I got it. I took the rag from her. Lila, she said. Stopping me. Chloe said. Miles is working construction. I looked at her. No point lying. Yeah, no degree. And now he has a record. Can't get a real job. Manual labor's about all he's got left. Her hand trembled for a second. Then she steadied it. Good. Let him work hard. Maybe he'll finally learn what money actually costs. She turned and walked into the kitchen to wash dishes. I watched her back. I knew it still hurt. He was her son, after all. But the fact that she could hold back, that she didn't run to coddle him, that was progress. More than I ever expected. Time flew by. 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. Miles never showed his face again. Word around the grapevine, he quit construction after a month because it was too hard. Got a job delivering food. Then got fired for eating customers' orders. Nobody really knew where he was or what he was doing. Nobody really cared. Ethan's career took off. Life got better and better. One weekend, I was in the study catching up on work when there was a soft knock on the door. Lila, can I come in? Sure. Carol walked in, holding a small, beat-up notebook. I was cleaning out my closet and found this. Wanted you to have it. She set it down on my desk. The cover was faded and worn. Old leather. What is it? I asked. It's my journal. I've been writing in it these past couple years. She rubbed her hands together. Embarrassed. I don't write real good. But it's honest. Don't laugh. Okay. I opened it up. The handwriting was wobbly, but neat. Every line was written carefully. Asterisk March 15th. 2022, Lila bought me a new jacket today. It's so warm. I was so terrible to her when I first moved in. And she still takes care of me. I'm a horrible person. Asterisk June 8th. 2022, Ethan got promoted. Lila took us all out for fancy dinner. Seeing them happy makes me feel like I can finally breathe. That no-good boy I raised? I'll just pretend I never had him. Asterisk January 1st. 2023, New Year. Lila said she's gonna redo my bedroom. Get me a lower bed because my knees hurt. She's kinder to me than my own daughter ever would have been. Asterisk, I kept turning the pages. My throat got tight. On the very last page, one line was scrawled extra carefully. Asterisk, my daughter-in-law is the hardest worker in this family. And she saved all of us. Asterisk, I closed the journal and looked up at her. She was standing there, eyes shiny, like a kid waiting to get in trouble. Mom. I stood up and walked over to hug her. She froze for a second, then hugged me back, crying quiet tears into my shoulder. Thank you, Lila. We're family, I said softly. No more thank yous. Real forgiveness isn't about pretending the bad things never happened. It's about watching someone actually try to be better and deciding to let them. That night, when Ethan got home, I told him about the journal. He wrapped his arms around me and rested his chin on top of my head. You're amazing. You know that? Am I? You took a wall of ice and you melted it. I smiled and didn't say anything. I didn't melt anything. I just took a hammer and cracked the ice open myself. Life doesn't reward people who roll over and take it. You stand up for yourself. You draw your lines. And then, and only then, people start to respect you. Hashtag chapter 10 one late autumn afternoon. Sunlight was streaming through the balcony windows into the living room. I was sitting on the couch drinking tea when my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered. Hello, Lila? Is that you? The voice on the other end was weak, rough, rattling like an old engine. It took me a second to place it. Miles. What do you want? My voice was flat. Lila. I'm sick. He broke into a coughing fit, gasping for air. Doctors say it's TB. I gotta go into the hospital. Isolation and everything. I don't have the money for the copay. Can you lend me something? Please. I said nothing. Lila. I know I was garbage before, but I got nowhere else to go. I'll pay you back. I swear. Just please don't let me die out here. He started crying on the other end of the line. I looked over at the balcony, where Carol was watering her flowers. Hold on a second. I walked out onto the balcony, phone in hand. Mom. It's Miles. On the phone. Carol froze mid-water. The watering can tilted, and water dripped off the edge of the pot. What does he want? Says he has tuberculosis. Can't pay his hospital bill. Wants money. She was quiet for a long time. Droplets of water fell off the leaves, one by one. You want to talk to him? I asked. She took a deep breath and set the watering can down. No, she looked me in the eye. Completely calm. You tell him his mother is dead. Tell him whatever happens to him from now on is his own business. We have nothing to do with it. She turned around and walked back inside the kitchen. I put the phone back to my ear. You hear that? Miles wailed on the other end. Mom, please, don't do this. I'm your son. I hung up and blocked the number without a second thought. I walked back into the living room, picked up my tea, and took a sip. It had cooled a little, but it still tasted good. That night, Ethan came home from work carrying a fancy cake box. What's the occasion? I asked, surprised. Our 7-year anniversary. He smiled and kissed my forehead. Also, I paid off the mortgage. All of it. I blinked. I'd been paying the mortgage on this house since day one. How? All my bonuses and commissions from the last few years. Saved every cent. He pulled a payoff statement out of his bag and handed it to me. Lila, you bought this house. But from now on, I'm the one who takes care of you. I stared at the piece of paper. My throat felt tight. 7 years. From that damp, dark basement apartment, to all the fighting and the scheming in this house, to this quiet, warm evening. We'd come so far. Thank you, Ethan. I should be thanking you. He pulled me into a tight hug. Carol walked out of the kitchen carrying a big bowl of food, saw us hugging, and smiled to herself. Turning back around. Dinner's ready. Cake later. We all sat down at the table. It was loaded with all my favorite dishes. And Ethan's favorite ribs too. Carol kept piling food onto our plates. Eat up. You both work too hard. I looked down at my bowl, heaped high with food, and thought, this is what a real home feels like. No favoritism. No scheming. No endless taking. Just respect. Just care. Just family. After dinner, we cut the cake. Ethan made a wish. Wish all of us stay safe and healthy. Always. Carol nodded over and over. Amen. Health is everything. I ate my piece of cake and looked out the window at all the city lights. Every day, in every city, families fall apart and put themselves back together. Some people stay stuck in the dark. Some people find their way into the sun. I'm glad I chose the sun. The next day, I found Carol's little journal again and put it in a nice wooden keepsake box. Someday, when we have kids, I'll show it to them. I'll tell them how this family got to where it is. I'll tell them kindness without boundaries is useless. I'll tell them love only works if there are lines you don't cross. I locked the box and put it in the back of my dresser drawer. Then I walked out onto the balcony. The sun was warm. The breeze was soft. Everything was exactly as it should be. Lila. Ethan called from the living room. You want to go shopping for fall clothes with Mom this weekend? Sure thing. I called back. I turned my face toward the sun and smiled.